There's absolute chaos inside the Labour Party as usual because Keir Starmer came out and randomly proposed a policy idea to freeze council tax that massively backfired, and now they're saying something else. Sometimes you wonder why a lot of politicians are what we call puppets. It's because you can't really trust them to be on their own, to make their own decisions. They just come out randomly, create fake policy announcements and things like this, and then their advisors freak out and tell them, you shouldn't say that. You need to calm down. We can't afford this. Why is it that people like Keir Starmer keep going out there, talk about nonsense, flip-flop, or sit on the fence and think they can get away with it? There's always an end. It's never sustainable in any party to do this. One day, all the lies will come back and haunt you. So, this is about council tax. As a policy, it's one of those taxes that it's kind of unfair because it depends where you live. It's like a lottery sort of situation, postcode lottery. Some people pay a lot of tax. Some people pay less. Some people have good value for money. Their council actually uses the tax revenue to give something back. And some councils just completely take it away. That aside, Keir Starmer came out when he was announcing his new 5 missions. He keeps coming up with new 5 missions every now and then, and scrap them and then announce new ones. He came out to say that the Labour government would freeze council tax. I'm like, firstly, that's very radical, considering that we've given these powers to local governments, local councils and authorities. They're the ones who obviously make the final decision. But we do have the overall veto, essentially. The broader policy control is still under Downing Street and Westminster Parliament. So if you want to announce a radical policy like this, you're going to use central government to overturn all the decisions from different local councils, you need to know what you're doing because this could easily backfire. And it did. So he did say that we've got to get out there and show people the difference Labour can make. Let them see our hunger for change. You mean hunger for power? Okay. We have to prove that this suffocating cost of living crisis, the path of decline the Tories have set Britain on, the endless sticking plaster politics is not inevitable. There is a choice. Pot kettle idiot, you're talking about plaster politics? That's exactly what all of you are doing. All the political parties, the Lib Dems, the Greens, the Labour Party, the Tories, the whole structure of the system is based on plasters, short-termism. Politicians who care more about or more worried about losing their seats in the next election, so they come out, they make empty promises or even real promises, real policies and solutions which only last for about 10 minutes because it's a plaster. None of them is brave enough to create a bigger vision to actually do something long-term, like what we used to do back in the day. We had Clement Attlee on the political left in the 40s, 50s. Then you had Margaret Thatcher on the political right. These people did radical ideas, big vision, long term, regardless of being worried about what's going to happen if they lose their seat. They didn't care about that. They focused on public duty. Whether you agreed or disagreed with their policies, they had values and they had their standards. Not now. That's the problem. So now the Labour Party embarrassingly admit that it's their flagship promise to freeze council tax is not actually going to happen. Keir Starmer shouldn't have said it. Labour HQ are panicking because they didn't approve this. The guy's a puppet. He's not even in charge because he could say something and the rest of the team behind him would say, no, Keir, sit down. It reminds us of someone who lives in a big white house in Washington, D.C. It's the same thing all over again. Now, the Labour Party came out to say this. That Labour was forced to admit that the halt would only go ahead if the Labour Party, was in government now. So it's all hypothetical. So they would only have done it if they were in government right now. So wait, what is this? Some sort of playground hypothetical game saying, well, no, we're not actually going to do it if we win the election. I was just saying, in case, if, let's just say I was in power now, right now, I can't do it later, but if I were in power now, I would genuinely promise you I would freeze your council tax. But if you vote for me later, the next election, I'm not going to do it. Why? A bunch of clowns, absolute clowns. This is disgusting. Anyway, it is funny. It's absolutely hilarious. Let's take a break because we're going to come back in the next video in half an hour. We're going to talk about the other side, the government. Because these days, inside the civil service establishment, if you have a job as a diversity advisor, you would get paid more than the head of cybersecurity. Absolutely fascinating. We'll come back in half an hour. We'll discuss that in a second. I'm Mahyar, Tousi, and we are the media.